Awesome. Welcome, everybody. I see a lot of people are starting to jump in here. Hey,
Hello, hello.
Pablo, our resident hype man. Thanks for joining.
Let's go. I am so pumped that we're doing this. So everybody, this is Tyler's brainchild of having a bi-weekly update just to show capabilities, show where this thing is going. For those of you that haven't met Tyler before, he is our head of account management, but Tyler built, scaled, exited a property management company in Colorado. Then he spent some time as a AI consultant. And I think that's what led you to us, right, Tyler? So we were really, really lucky enough to have him join us on the team. Fills a major, major role on like being super fluent in the world of property management and successful in the world of property management. He is one of these like tinkerers, process-minded people that understands this technology fundamentally really, really well and is a great translator for this. Tyler, you want to kick it off, man? You wanna take it away?
Yeah. Well, welcome, everybody. I still see some people joining. But really, the intent behind this webinar series is to not only give insight into Vendoroo, our product, how to best interact with your AI employee, but also like what is AI, how to interact with it in general. How can you also use it for your business as well to help you grow and become more efficient. So I'm hoping that if people are not currently Vendoroo clients, you give us a shot, but also I hope you get a lot of good insights too that just help be more efficient on your day to day, and just leave here with at least a couple of good learning points and action items as you go forward. So our agenda for today, we'll go over an AI overview and a demo. So a couple components of this are going to be live demos. Then we'll go into more like vendor specific, like what is your AI employee's brain? How does it actually learn, and where does information come from? And then we'll go into management decisions. So act like when you're AI employee, just like when you're onboarding anybody new, or just like how you might expect somebody to come to you for approval, how do you interact with your AI employee to make those management decisions? And then we'll leave some time at the end for a Q&A. We do have a couple awesome moderators, Brian and Jackie, with us. So if you have questions as we're going through, feel free to put them in the chat, and we will keep track of those. And anything we don't get to as well, we'll take a look at the chat afterwards and try to answer as many questions as we can.
Yeah, I would encourage
Yeah,
everybody, the chat's going to move real quick. So there's a Q&A function because we're in a webinar. Use that Q&A function. It'll be there. And I'll be able to moderate kind of like if it's appropriate, interrupt Tyler for a question, or we can save it to the end. I'm also going to play kind of like the noble fool role, right? Like when something seems like Tyler is just like too smart for the room, including myself, I'm going to ask him that thing that we all wish we could ask, but we're asking for a friend. I'll be that friend. So go ahead, Tyler.
awesome. So yeah, a little bit about me. Pablo did mention I started and scaled a property management company. I've worked for Amazon, Deloitte as a consultant in the past. And then once AI started coming around, really just kind of dove into it head first. And I ended up at Vendoroo. It was kind of the perfect match of the two. And when I was selling my company was when I first started getting the ads from Pablo, with Pablo and David on them. And it was like, oh, if I wasn't selling my company, like this is something I would definitely pursue. And I saw a posting come up on LinkedIn and was like, let's give this a shot. And a week later, I started. So that's how I ended up at Vendoroo, and kind of just a brief background on me. But yeah, diving into like AI as a whole, because there's a lot of different buzzwords around there. There's a lot of different perspectives. There's a lot of different avenues and how to actually interact with it. And so, what is AI? Like, how do we categorize it? So, in general, how I like to categorize it is there's generative AI, which is like you basically just ask it a prompt. This is what the majority of people use ChatGPT for. You're saying like, hey, write me this email, or hey, what's the best strategy to do X, Y, and Z. That's the generative part. Building on top of that, you get to agentic AI, and so that's like a series of tasks or like a series of prompts that you would give a generative AI to produce a goal. So whenever you think I have a goal or I want a task completed, that's what agentic AI is. And so on top of that, you then have general AI or AGI, and by all accounts, this is like the Terminator type view of the world, of where it can just go out into the universe and take over any sort of system and operate robots and things like that. And by all accounts, we are not here yet as a society. And so I'll be focusing on and demoing and showcasing the generative AI and the agentic AI components, and how that also relates to vendor as a whole. And so what does AI actually need to be successful? It needs a solid foundation of knowledge. So when you hear like large language models or LLMs, like ChatGPT and OpenAI, like they're trained on huge and vast resources of data and knowledge to be able to provide that information insight to you when you say, hey, write this email for me, and it spits it out in 5 seconds. But it also needs proper framing and context. So like as any of us as humans, you can't just say like, be better. It's like, well, what do you mean? Do I need to be better as like a cook? Do I need to be better as a sports person? And like, does that mean I need to work out more? Does that mean I need to actually like go taste test a bunch of things and learn how to follow a recipe? So context is super important as you're starting to like prompt it and as you're wanting to get the right response back and the right actions back from AI as well. And as a part of that is a clear and descriptive description. How I like to frame this is if you pulled somebody off the street and they read like either the prompt or the instruction that you're giving your AI, and if they ask you a question like, what does this mean? Then the AI is probably not giving you the output that you want. But if you take somebody off the street and they say, oh, yep, I get it, and give you the output that you want, it's probably a pretty good place to start. And then the final piece is that it needs to be taught. So all these large language models and like including Vendoroo as a whole, like they have a solid base knowledge, but everybody has their own preferences. Everybody has their own desires, and there's always a new thing that's coming down the pipeline. I remember I was on a call about a month ago, and a property manager started getting properties with more remote controlled fans, and that was a new thing in their portfolio, and they hadn't seen before. And so working on how to troubleshoot or like how do we find the remote, how do we verify we have a remote was a new thing to them. And so we worked through like how do we actually coach their AI to ask different questions as well to better facilitate troubleshooting with the tenant. But as new products and features come out, similarly, you're going to have to teach and level up your AI employee too. And we'll go over kind of how to do that in the context of Vendoroo. And then I do want to cover like what it is not. Like AI is not a mind reader. Like as much as it can give tons of insights into a lot of data and might seem like a mind reader sometimes, it's still based on the knowledge that it has. And so if you're not giving the direction or providing the information that you want it to operate off of, that's basically like me walking into a room and Pablo saying, why didn't you tell me that it was sunny outside? And I was like, well, what do you mean? I didn't know that I was supposed to tell you what the weather was, or like blindfolding me as I'm walking into a building and asking me like, is it sunny or is it dark outside? Like I don't have the context or the knowledge to provide that answer. And as an extension of that, like it's not sentient, so it doesn't understand common sense, quote unquote. And all of us also have our own definition of what common sense is. And so because we all have our different sense of what should happen in any different situation, we need to be very explicit in those instructions with AI and with your AI teammates to get the right answer overall, or the right outcome. It's also not infallible, like similar to a human, like it truly can make mistakes. When we operate in this AI world, like it should make a vastly less amount of mistakes, but there is the possibility that it interprets an instruction wrong, or it interprets a piece of information incorrectly, or misses a piece of information, and that isn't taken into account as it's making its next decision. And then it's also not all knowing, kind of similar to needing a solid foundation of knowledge. If it wasn't trained on that knowledge, like say you had ChatGPT was never trained on 18th century Scotland history, and you asked it about Scotland history in the 1800s, it would never know. So it needs to, and it wouldn't infer or be able to like tell you factually what happened in that era unless it actually has that knowledge. So one thing I wanted to do was actually just kind of like showcase a couple things of what I mean by like clarity of context, how to like shape instructions to get a different outcome, and then also the difference between generative and agentic AI. So a fun little example is write me a one-page children's, oh shoot, I'm typing. Yeah, children's story, my bad. Children's story. So yeah, so I may have been thinking in my mind that I wanted it about a little boy and his baby hippo, but it came out with Little Lantern Lost Firefly. And that's because I didn't tell it what I wanted. All I said was, hey, write me a short children's story. And so now I could say, actually, I want one about a little boy and his pet hippo. And then so now it's Max and the hippo. So now I have more context that I'm giving it, but I'm like, hey, maybe it's not like to the writing standard or the flow that I actually want this to be. It's decent. It says he was as big as Max's dad's car. It's providing some descriptions, but it's pretty standard names and things like that. But if I gave it something fun, like take the persona of Charles Dickens and Dr. Seuss and rewrite this story. They were to collaborate. So now it's changing from just Max and the hippo in the backyard to Max and Hugo, most unusual friendship. And it's taken it and changed the structure to be a little bit of poetry, like Charles Dickens, but also a little more whimsical, like Dr. Seuss. And so you can see I have the same kind of general premise of I wanted to write a children's story, but the first time I let it decide, like, well, do I want it to pick like people that are just going to pick something broad and random? I gave it a little more context to say, actually, I want it to be about a boy and his hippo. And then I gave it even more direction to say, I want it to be this type of outcome. Like I want to have this type of feel. And ultimately you get to see how it shifts and takes that into account. And so as we think about interacting with AI tools and all these things, how you describe like, especially in the context of Vendoroo, those that use us, like how you describe the policies that you have in place, how you provide like the maintenance notes within the property itself, and the descriptions that you put there, it allows the AI to actually build upon it and make different decisions, as I'm trying to like just demonstrate here in a broad scale. So all of this was generative AI. Now, if I took this, I'm not going to let this go all the way, but ChatGPT has an agentic mode. So I'm going to say, like, take this and look for a self-publishing site and create this for me. And so now I've given it an actual goal of, okay, you wrote this book for me, but now I want to publish this. And so now that I've framed it in not just give me information, but accomplish a task for me, it's going to take a minute here. And I'm just going to demo and showcase this a little bit because sometimes it can take a minute to actually go through the whole process. But this is agentic AI. So right now, ChatGPT is actually going through and looking for sites on the internet and looking at how to self-publish my book. And so you can actually watch it play through, and at the end of this, it'll actually record the whole thing and you can see the steps that it went through. But at the outcome of this, so yeah, now it's saying generating a PDF using Python and Lulu and through these other avenues, and it's actually going to create this book for me that then I can publish. So that's like the next shift. So previously, like OpenAI and a lot of the initial AI functionalities and features were generative. So like 2 years ago, it was pretty much all generative with the inklings of agentic AI coming out. And now we're really starting to see this shift into, well, now AI can help accomplish goals for both us internally and for our clients like you all as well. So when you think, and I'll showcase what Vendoroo actually is on the next slide. So I'm gonna let this kind of go. Yeah, I'm gonna let this go a little further and see if it comes to a conclusion. But just wanted to see, like, showcase how this could actually work for you. We're actually releasing something to help with maintenance book reviews and like identifying your top vendors and like getting insights into your company, because you can actually take this this agent here and have it log into your PMS system and say and like give it direction to provide all the insights that you may ever need and want to help like move your business forward. So things like, what are my actual policies? Like, how do I conduct maintenance? How do I actually prioritize my vendors? How have I been communicating with tenants overall? Like, what's our overall tenant sentiment based on the responses that we've had? You can have this agent go through and actually collect all that information for you. And it's something that we're starting to do on the onboarding side. So yeah, now you see it's like, okay, I need to go through Lulu and actually create an account. So it doesn't know how to take an account. So it'll actually ask me to log in and create the account, but then it'll go through and create the booklet for me. So yeah, I encourage people to play around with it. It's really fascinating to me, at least. And there's a lot of really cool use cases with it within just your business, not just within like the Vendoroo relationship. So back to our little slide deck here.
So
So
Tyler,
what?
the takeaway
Yeah, go ahead.
here, the takeaway here is essentially understanding the difference between generative and agentic will help you understand how to like apply yourself inside of Vendoroo better, right? Because Vendoroo is an agentic AI, and therefore that means that you can ask it to do certain things as long as you understand what you're doing with it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so you're on to the next slide, which is like, what is
Right.
Vendoroo? So we actually have both. We have generative AI and we have agentic AI. So when we're talking about the PMRoo function or the AI chat, which you can access through the Chrome extension or through your Vendoroo dashboard, that's generative AI for all intents and purposes. It's looking at all the work orders that you have in place. You're saying, hey, like give me like this one said, give me an update on my new work order. It's looking at all the information it has on those work orders and it's consolidating that into a digestible way for you to understand how things are functioning in your space. You could also say, tell me all my open work orders, like help me write an email to my owner to say like the status of this work order. Did the owner actually approve this? So instead of having to work order deep dive and try to find the owner approval, you just ask it and say, hey, did the owner approve this? So you're interacting with it very similar to ChatGPT, and it's a question or like a prompt in and just getting a report or a response out. So that is the one side of our business, and that's mainly just like a skin or an interface to get information more seamlessly and quickly from all the data that all of our wonderful clients have. Then we do have the agentic AI part. So we have resident troubleshooting and the vendor coordination are kind of the two kind of pillars or main products that we have on the market right now as far as agentic AI. And so resident troubleshooting, its goal is to gather all pertinent information, attempt to provide guidance to the tenant on how to resolve the work order, and provide suggested next steps. And so when a tenant submits a work order, that agent is saying, that AI employee, that agent is saying, okay, what information do I need in order to accomplish this goal that's going to either close out this work order or allow us to assign a vendor and move it forward. And so that may be asking more questions. It may be asking them to attempt to fix something or change something, send some photos, for example, and provide like the model number so the AI can actually look it up online and see if there's any basic troubleshooting for that. And so that's true agentic AI, like where it's trying to go from an input and come and work its way through to accomplish a goal. So the second piece is vendor coordination. So once the triages come in and a vendor gets assigned, the goal of that agent is to coordinate with tenants and residents to resolve the work order. Its end goal is, hey, this work order has been complete. I have the invoice and the tenant is happy and the issue is now fully been resolved. And so that's kind of a brief delineation of the two types of AI that we have at Vendoroo and how they actually play out.
Tyler, real quick from the Q&A. Sherry is asking if the tenants and owners can chat. I'm assuming that PMRoo is only a chat that is available to the property manager. The residents end up chatting with the resident troubleshooter, but not through this PMRoo portal, right?
Correct. Yes, that is correct. Yeah. So whenever a resident is communicating with your Vendoroo AI employee, they are doing so either through the resident troubleshooting or the vendor coordination agent, depending upon the stage that they're in. And that is an important distinction and delineation. Is like in agentic AI right now, leveling like layering on goals is kind of the next step. Probably 6 to 8 months ago, the main premise was, hey, like keep each agent with one specific goal, really hone it in to be an expert at this one goal, and then have it hand off that information to the next agent so it has its very specific goal and can do that very well. And now we're starting to see those come together where you can give a singular agent multiple kind of goals and outcomes that it's hunting down and trying to accomplish. But that is why we delineate these things between resident troubleshooting and vendor coordination. Additionally, some clients elect just for the resident troubleshooting piece, and then some have both of these as well.
Good stuff.
All right. So next thing is your AI employee's brain. And so what actually is the knowledge that your AI employee is looking at to make decisions? And all of our clients have this within their dashboard. And it's a combination of information that's in your property management system, as well as in our vendor dashboard that you go through onboarding to complete. And across the board for all the agents that we design, develop, and roll out, our mentality has been the most specific information first is the most important, and then you back out and the more general knowledge and less specific information being less important overall. And so what that means in the property management space is the unit is the most specific. So if there is information on the unit itself, the AI will look at that and weight that the most heavily. And so the two that are usually the most have the most pertinent information are the not to exceed amount, or the NTE, and the maintenance notes from the unit itself within your property management system. And so depending upon which one you're on, it lives in different areas. But that's generally where the AI actually looks first. So for example, on this one, we have do not attempt to triage any work order submissions for this property. Just respond to the tenant saying, thank you for your submission. We're taking this over and moving on. So there are some property managers that have elderly tenants that just, they want to provide a great service and say, you know what, we're going to put a little more human touch on this one. Just get as much information as you can. Don't ask them to troubleshoot anything and pass that on. And that's specific to that property. But on all their other properties, it's actually try to troubleshoot, try to get this resolved, and get this fixed before trying to assign a vendor. So most specific first, then it moves out to like, what does your company do on a general basis? Like, what are your tenant responsibilities? What are your owner responsibilities? Do you have any other major guidances that are applicable across all of your properties that you don't need to put in every single time you create a new property? And so that's the next piece. That's on within your maintenance books is policies. And then after that, we're looking at like your go-to vendors if we're assigning a vendor. And then the highest level is overall client notes and guidelines, and then our base knowledge of hundreds of thousands of work orders. So if you think about it, we're looking at the property specific, then we're looking at your company specifically, and then we're looking at vendors' broad knowledge of all the work orders that have ever been out there to make decisions as we go. And the more specific it is, it overrides the more general. So just wanted to ground everybody in that component as we start looking at escalations and how you actually interact with your AI employee overall. All right, next slide. Yeah, so management decisions. So pretty much everybody to this date, including everybody that's been newly onboarded, may hear them as escalations. And when we've been thinking about escalations, like, hey, like when we hear escalation now, it's like, hey, something's wrong. But it's not necessarily that something's wrong. It's either I as your AI employee don't know all the information, or this is a specific point where you as the manager has said, I need to be involved. This is something that I need to approve. Like for example, I may be able to approve buying a shirt for myself for Vendoroo, but I can't approve just hiring any 30 people like right off the street. I have to go get approval from my boss, my manager to have that happen. And so there are some policies that we should expect to go straight through because your AI employee is authorized to do so. But then you also can put limits to say, hey, I need to be notified and make the approval at this point. The most clear example is the not to exceed amount. So if the not to exceed amount is $300, I, as your AI employee, kind of have free reign to, not free reign, but have permission to approve work orders under that amount if there's no other policies in place. But if it hits that 300 amount, your AI employee is supposed to stop, say, hey, manager, I need to have approval here. Can you take a look and just let me know if we should continue forward or not? And so the first piece of that is who can actually manage your AI teammate? So as companies grow, you have different org structures, you have different groups. So who can actually manage your AI employee? And that is set up through the escalation settings within your account. And so I'm going to go through these as a slide, and I'm going to go in and actually show the live demo afterwards as well. So that's kind of the first component, is determining who can actually manage your AI teammate, and then who also just wants visibility into what the AI teammate is raising its hand on and saying, I need help. The next piece is when does your AI teammate need help and what does it look like? So when we are raising our hand, your AI employee is raising its hand, it's coming as an escalation email at this point. So you'll either get an email or you can actually see it on your chat or your Chrome extension, which I will show. So there's a couple different avenues to where your employee will raise its hand. This happens across all those channels. So you as the manager can elect and say, hey, I like interacting with my employee in this way at all times, basically. So I'm just going to respond back via email, or I'm just going to respond back via the Chrome extension and the AI chat, because I think that's more efficient and it works better for me. So your AI employee does raise it through multiple channels to best facilitate your response. And then the next piece of that is making a management decision. So once it's saying, hey, I need help here, showing you what it needs help with, and then you making that management decision, whether that's a yes, do this, no, I don't approve of this, or try something else, so to speak. You can direct it in any way that you want. And then I'll show how that actually gets back to like your AI teammate where it shows up. And then closing the loop is training your AI employee. So at Vendoroo right now, we are working on like this additional self-learning component of like if an escalation comes through and it's approved, it'll incorporate that in the future. But pretty much all agentic AIs right now, they still need input from their manager. And so closing the loop and saying, you know what, this wasn't just a one-off. I want this to be a policy, or I want this to be in my AI employee's brain forever. Closing that loop, putting it in as a custom instruction, so that you're leveling up your employee as it's going, so you consistently get more and more experience from your AI employee and don't have to be brought in as often.
Yeah, Tyler,
so we'll go through. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, cool. I was just gonna say, like, it's kind of like the difference between you have somebody on your team, something happens, it's a teachable moment. It's the difference between assuming that your employee got the same lesson that you just had in your brain versus explicitly telling them right away, right? Like right now, you want to explicitly tell them this was a teachable moment. Remember this thing. In the future, that teachable moment will be just like understood by the agentic AI, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like similar, like if an employee raises their hand and you say, "Yep, this is approved," they may not think, "Oh, this is approved forever. It's just this one time." But you in your mind might have been like, "Oh, they'll understand." So similar to a person, clarity is key, and making sure that those expectations are managed and everybody's on the same page, so that there's no confusion in the future. Because yeah, if your AI employee isn't explicitly told, it's not going to just assume that you want that to be done in the future, at least at this point in time.
Got it. And we do have a question here from Michael Sloan. Michael's asking, is anyone looking at the data accumulated through all these work orders? And is there anything we can learn from that data?
Yeah, so great question, Michael. This is actually something that's top of mind for us right now, because we do have a lot of information as far as the work orders that are coming through, the escalations that we are providing to, or like the management decisions we are asking for from all of our clients. That's something that we are internalizing right now and working on. You will see the first iteration of that starting this Friday, I believe. I hope I'm not putting words in Michael Lee's mouth, but I believe the full weekly insights report is going to be going to all clients starting this week. It does look at your historical work orders and provide different levels of insights across them. And those are like percentage of automation, time to vendor completion, resident sentiment is in there as well. So you can see, hey, these tenants may not be as happy. There also that's in there is recurring work orders on specific properties or recurring work order type on the same property. So if over the last few months you've gotten the same plumbing issue come up at the same property, that may be a different conversation you want to have with an owner. So yes, that's the first iteration of what you're kind of asking for there, Michael. And we are consistently working on ways to provide those insights to all of you, because your AI employee can generate and process a lot more information as those go on. Great question. So yeah, so how do I even just get visibility into managing my AI employee? So this is managed through the Vendoroo dashboard. There's really only a couple things that you should have to come here for, and this is one of them. And so if I go to my profile here and I go down to notifications, I can subscribe to a bunch of different notifications that we have. Real quick, back to Michael's question. If you want to get those weekly insights reports, this is the checkbox that you want checked. We did turn it on for all of our clients because we thought that was going to be a really good value prop. But if you either want to turn it off or you just want to double check that it's on, you can go to the same notifications place and check this box. But the management decisions are coming from this escalations piece. And so You can either describe to say, hey, I just want to have a once a day daily meeting with my AI employee, and that's this daily report of open escalations. So once a day, what do we need to touch base on? What do we need to resolve out? Or you can say, hey, AI employee, just like let me know in the moment, shoot me a message, and I'll respond back when I can. That's the immediately for new escalations piece here. And then assign to me. So say you're on a team with multiple people, and we assign escalations to different individuals. You can say, you know what, I interact only with this employee on my specific properties or my specific work orders, so I don't need to see anybody else's. Like they do that together, that's fine. You just click on assign to me. But say you're like either a manager of managers, or you just want to have visibility, or you're like your team may be out of the office or need some extra support. You can turn on account wide, and it'll show you both the escalations that are assigned to you, as well as to other people within your company. So that's step one. Now, what happens once an escalation actually comes through? So when your AI is asking for a management decision, this is the subscription for an immediate notification. So you'll get this email, and it says either like respond by PM root chat or respond by the Chrome extension on the work order page. And so if I click on respond by the Chrome extension on the work order page, it'll actually take me to that work order within the Vendoroo dashboard. So not always, like, do people want to go straight into the dashboard? That's totally fine. You can do it by just clicking on the respond by PM root chat, and that will take you to just the overall dashboard view. But at the same time, you don't have to go to either. You don't have to look at this email. If you're on a work order within Folio, Buildium, Rentbind, like any of our property management systems that we integrate with, and there's a work order with an escalation, if you're on that work order that has one, a little red dot will pop up on our kangaroo icon here. And if you click that, it'll pop up this message that says there are 2 escalations for work order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is this demo one that I have. And you can view and respond to each escalation within the Chrome extension itself. So you don't have to come to where your employee is. Our employee is trying to go to wherever you're at. So if you're in just your emails, if you're in your property management system, if you're in the dashboard, if you're even driving down the road and you're at a property, if you have Google Chrome like downloaded on your phone, you can add this Chrome extension and pull it up and ask about escalations. So even on the go, you can get these things resolved. So yeah, so that's how the AI employee is actually saying, hey, I have a question, or I need some assistance. If I'm in the Chrome extension, I just click on view and respond to the escalation. And I can just say I need more information, or I want to respond to the escalation. And you don't have to click either one of these buttons. You can just type straight in the box. But for the demo, we'll just click respond to the escalation. And like, what does it actually want to do? So I want to assign, I actually want to assign the Doton, the handyman. And so now it'll say I've successfully processed your request to assign Doton, the handyman. And in theory, if I refresh this, it's immediately coming through. You can see that this escalation was resolved. And now this message has gone to your AI employee's brain to say, I need to address this. And so, yeah, I just put that in. It happens immediately, goes to this specific work order. And then now the AI also has that context to either course correct or make a different decision as it's going through that process. Now, that was only one of the escalations. So I can say, what other escalations do I have? Now it's showing me that I have 2. So one, and these 2 are not assigned to me. So these are other escalation letters on our little demo account here. But I could respond back to these if I wanted to, if I had the insight to it, or you could say, hey, you know what? Nope, these are the other teammates' job to resolve these escalations. So I'm gonna leave them here. I'm gonna leave them open. Yeah, I'm gonna stop here because that was a lot of information before we go to like, how do you close the loop? And then we'll have about 5 to 8 minutes for Q&A at the end. So any glaring questions right here?
Nothing is open in the chat. I'll let people chime in. one thing I wanted to ask you, Tyler, is most of the time if you are a user of Vendoroo, you can be logged into this marketplace, but there is also chances are that you're going to be in your PMS system with the PMRoo attachment next to it. So you're still reading it the same way, but in your PMS system, right?
Yes, exactly. I didn't want to log into like a client's actual PMS and like show it live on a screen, which is why I don't have one up.
Yeah.
But yes, it would show the exact same view here of this screen would be your PMS, so Buildium, Rentvine, Appfolio, Door Loop, whatever it is. And then at the top, you just click on the little kangaroo icon for the extension, or if you're on a work order specifically, it'll show up in the bottom right. Click on that, the same window will pop up, and you can resolve the same thing. Similarly, if I was just on this work order, let me go to new chat. So now instead of like if I didn't know the full context of this work order too, so say this escalation came in, it's like, hey, do you want me to assign you a vendor? This one's not responding. I could say, well, how long open are we following up? Before you even ask, it's like, hey, like what have you done to this point? So yeah, this one was reported August 28th, 2025. Latest work order was created here, and a request was made to assign another plumber. So there's not a ton of steps, not a lot of information here because like it's not going through the whole thing. But it's also saying like the NT of 250 and providing next steps of what we want to happen in the future. So you could say before I even escalate something, you're like your AM play saying, hey, I need approval. But if you don't have the context, like the full context, then that may not be, you might not be able to make that full decision. So before you make that full decision, well, what have we done? It'll tell you everything that's done. You're like, all right, let's resolve this escalation now. Either yes, assign this other vendor, or like let's ping the same vendor again, see if they'll respond, and then we can move the work order forward that way.
Good stuff.
But yeah, so like next step in the next like 2 minutes, and we'll leave it open for Q&A is, well, how do we close the loop? And so I'm going to use just the Chrome extension here because it's fun. So yeah, I'm just going to showcase like you don't have to be actually on like your email or another work order or anything like that. I'm just on the Chat GPT site, and I click on New Chat. I can say, actually, let's do this. I want to add a new instruction. And so now when you say I want to add a new instruction, or you say like, hey, I want to add this policy, it then goes into like learning mode. And so I can say for all toilet issues, just trying to have them turn off the water and move to sending a vendor. And so if I'm changing like a policy overall, it's going to tell me what my default system behavior is, what custom instructions I have. So it looks like just, yeah, your name is Johnny. You can actually name your Resiroo now, or your AI chat in Resiroo if you want to. So this one's named Johnny. And then the proposed new instructions at the bottom will be, what are we going to add to the current knowledge base that it has? So its current policy is, if it's clogged toilet, just raise it as an emergency and stop. Do not triage and ask tenants. I'm basically saying for all toilet issues, just tell them to turn off the water and then move forward. You click on append, and that adds it to the AI's brain. So I click on append. And now it's successfully added this new instruction, and that's your AI confirming, I got this. Like this is now a policy that is locked into my mind, and I'm going to incorporate that going forward. I do want to call out, this is currently for like the troubleshooting agent, so the tenant contact and troubleshooting and triage part of it, and we are working on expanding that to the vendor coordination side. Just not quite there yet. So I just want to call that out so people aren't saying like for this vendor do X, Y, and Z, because it's not quite there yet. But anything troubleshooting related, have fun with it. Last week I spent time with one of our clients, like really diving into garbage disposal troubleshooting and triage. He added like four new custom instructions. 3 days later, and actually a garbage disposal one came in. It successfully troubleshot it with them, had them like reset it, unclog it, and they didn't have to send anybody, which was pretty cool. So definitely the more you interact with it, like the more you educate, for your specific circumstances, the better. Like it does have tremendous knowledge from a base level, but every company is unique. You all have your own ways of functioning and your own ways of managing. And so incorporating your own unique flavor into your agent not only changes and betters your own customer experience and your brand, but also gets it to a point where it's operating with the level of expectation that you would have too.
Good stuff, Tyler. Sherry had asked, can we go straight to the root and enter instructions and continue to train it? So you read her mind on that question.
Yep.
And then Bill Davey just sent a private text here saying, cool feature. I've been using extension to send notes and such. So this is like a new thing that people are able to do that they may not be aware that they can use PM root to do this, right?
Yeah, and so yeah, Bill, to your point, what you're talking about is the submit an action request. So similarly to how I resolved that escalation, and it goes straight to the work order here. If I submit an action request for this work order, so say you even you get ahead of your AI employee, or like, actually I was like reviewing something and I want to do it this way instead, you can just submit an action request, just like notifying any employee saying, hey, let's do this right now, and it'll go straight to that work order, and the AI will course correct as well.
Cool. All right, we got a couple questions, man. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. For all specific property instructions for vendors, can we only manage via AppFolio, correct? Or is there a specific portion to add in Vendoroo as well? So I think what they're asking is, if you're just doing property specific and you put it inside of your PMS system, you don't have to do anything else, right?
Yeah, vendors is a great question, because vendors is one that is still best within Vendoroo. So if I go to my maintenance book, how and as a part of our new onboarding process, and what we're starting to go back with our current client support too, is trying to provide these insights for your go-to vendors based on all the work orders that you've had come through. The AI looks at this list and is saying, okay, this type of work order came in, and I am specifically being directed to use like these vendors and this priority. And even in here, you can put on like in specific notes. For like, for example, in our little demo account here for my management company, we're saying, you know what, never follow up for invoices with this vendor. They send it to us when they're ready. Like, just don't worry about the follow-up. And you can do that, and that will be taken into account. So like all the other vendors, it'll follow up for the invoices, but for this specific one, should just stop and let them send it when they're ready. So all of your vendors should sync over. So you can see like this tab will come from AppFolio, Rentbuy, Buildium, all the property management systems. They'll sync over the vendors. And then our ask is that you add them to the go-to vendor list, so it's as specific as possible for the AI to look at. You can add it to the maintenance notes. So to your point, you can add it to the maintenance notes of like, use this vendor, but that vendor does have to be within your property management software somewhere, so we can see the contact information for them to actually assign them and then coordinate with them. Because we have seen a couple clients where they put the owner's vendor here, but that owner's vendor wasn't anywhere in their property management system. So we actually couldn't coordinate with that vendor.
Got it. Okay, I'm going to dig a little bit more into that question because I think they're asking something even more specific. But before you go, we're reaching the 45-minute mark. We're going to sit here and answer more questions. If you haven't answered the initial survey when you first popped in, it'll take you 2 seconds just to like pop in there, answer that. Please do us that favor so we can get good data on this call. Would really, really appreciate it.
Paul, I did see one really quick about how to direct vendors to submit their invoices. Yes, so your AI employee can direct vendors to submit invoices in any path that you want. Specifically for our Rentbuy users, they have rapid invoicing, I think is what they call it. And so we've actually been trying to work your AI employees workflow into that one. So basically, vendor completes the work order, say, hey, great, send it to this, like the Rentbuy rapid invoice function out, like inbox. And that way it actually will take the invoice, parse it, and create it for you in your system. So it's creating like a more seamless process for you. We have others where, it says, hey, send it to our AP provider or send it to our accounting app client email instead of just attaching it to the work order. So yes, we can, your AI employee can direct where to send invoices.
Excellent. All right. Jimmy Martz asks, I'm going through the onboarding process and I clearly see the value for myself, the owner, and my property manager. Many of my contractors are employees. How can I best sell the idea of this product to my maintenance team, and how can this help them be more effective? You got a take on that, Tyler?
Yeah. So for if you have an in-house like maintenance team, definitely let your account manager know, because there's a different flavor for how that's best worked through and set up. But how I like to put it is a lot of, so let me back up. 60% of all the messages that we send from Vendoroo, and we send thousands a month, are just follow-ups. So when I look at it from basically anybody's perspective, it's how many times are vendors playing telephone tag with a tenant? How many times is a tenant playing telephone tag with a PM or another employee? And so as you build in like this cadence and this way of like not forgetting a text message or not forgetting like an email, it takes off that 60% of the workload. So it's as simple as like, yep, I got this. We've already talked to the tenant, gotten their schedule. We talked to your maintenance guy, get their schedule. We match them up for you, so they don't have to go back and forth. And then we'll follow up and see how things are going, making sure the tenant's satisfied, the work's been completed as well. So there's still definitely a value there of they can spend time doing what they do best, which is fixing the problems at hand, not dialing the tenant saying, hey, are you free on a Friday? So they can go and do all these items, hopefully fixing these things faster and decreasing your open work order times. And then they can just have the confidence that this is helping them coordinate things as they go.
Yeah. So BS kind of like coordination off of your plate, more mental capacity to like be there, fix this thing that you need to fix and take your time with it, because you're not rushing to do a million other tasks. Is kind of like the thing, right? Got it. Okay. David Hunter, is there a way to create a database of protocols to adapt and or build off others' experience?
Yes. So I've actually been asked this question 3 times this week. And what I've told people is your AI agent is yours and yours alone. So we do level up our like the base knowledge of the troubleshooting, of the vendor coordination, all these things. But we have many clients, and I could talk to 90% of them, and I could get 90% different policies and procedures and stuff. And so we are trying to surface best practices now of how should your AI employee be set up? What knowledge does it need to be the most successful and get you to that 95% club where 95% of your work orders are handled without your input? But we don't want to take one client's like policies and informations at face value and let that train across other agents, because everybody has their own different business policies. Hopefully that answers the question.
Got it. All right. So we got a couple of different places. So Angel was asking, does Roo retain in-depth instruction developed by another company so we can benefit from it? That's kind of the same question, right? We are leveling up base kind of like operational things, but policy-wide, your own policies fit you best, right?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Ravi Varanasi asks, we are in the process of onboarding. Do we get this demo training with our team later? My team will repurpose this webinar to make it like really watchable. We will send it out to everybody. We're going to post this on YouTube and send you the link and stuff like that. Send everybody that was here. And Ravi, I would also say if you, any extra training you need when you are sitting down with your AIC and your customer success folks, just to ask them for, like to go over this stuff again. John Scribante, can Vendoroo direct vendors to submit their oh, you just answered that. Tim Richards asks, can Vendoroo EMC check to see if a current insurance declaration is in force for the vendor before dispatching them?
Yeah, great question. We've gotten this a couple times too. Right now, we haven't had visibility into that field, and I believe you're talking about Appfolio. We haven't had visibility into that field. We are consistently working on our side, and actually have a meeting with the team tomorrow to like how do we expand its knowledge and like its visibility to different areas. But in the meantime, what I've been suggesting for other clients is putting that in the, I think I'm still sharing my screen. Yeah, putting that in the vendor notes within the dashboard, because you can say, hey, this person's insurance or their license is valid until this date. We can assign them up until December 1st, 2025, and it should recognize that and like say like escalate once it's expired. So in the meantime, there should be a little stopgap there, but we are consistently looking at how we level up and see more information within your property management software.
Got it. And Jill was asking, just to follow up on that question of lists, how about a troubleshooting list? Is that kind of like what we are doing right now with that agent that's going through and figuring out troubleshooting lists and stuff like that?
So that's more building out the go-to vendors. And Angel, if I'm misunderstanding your question too, definitely let me know. But I'm just gonna go back and start a fresh chat here. Yeah.
Sure. Her original question is, does Rue retain in-depth instruction developed by another company so we can benefit from it? And then she followed up with like a troubleshooting list.
Yeah, so it has like if you're ever curious about how it's actually going to interact with something, you can log in. This has to be done through the dashboard. You can't do it through the chat yet, but if you change it to resident, you can role play as a resident. And so you can say like, my garage
How would I troubleshoot a
door
garbage disposal?
stuck. So yeah, so that'd be if you're actually as the PM. If I'm acting as a resident, I'm just going to say like, hey, I'm submitting a work order. My garage door is stuck and I can't get my car out.
So Sherry's asking specifically for garbage disposal instructions. Maybe we can live do that one.
Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, so we'll actually go back to PM. So if you're in here and you click agent as property manager, that's you like interacting with your employee as a property manager. So you're asking in questions like, hey, how would you troubleshoot this? So how would you troubleshoot a broken garbage disposal? And so this, you can do this for any type of work order, any condition. You can get crazy with it and have fun with it. But it'll tell you what its current behavior path is and say like this one's safety first, like always instruct the resident to turn off the power before attempting to remove obstructions. So before they're putting their hand in the garbage disposal, make sure you turn it off and unplug it. Then there's an escalation path. And so if you are looking at this and saying, you can even say, what specific guidance will you give? And it should give you a little more breakdown of what it'll actually ask the tenant and what, verify power supply, ensure it's plugged in. Yeah, so this was the most, so this is the most specific that it has. So if you get to this point, you're like, hey, I wish it did something different. Like my properties have this, or like there's a new garbage disposal model out that does X, Y, and Z. You could then say, you can then add a custom instruction here. And so you can do this for, if you're curious about how we'll troubleshoot kind of your main topics that we hear about, leaking toilets, like those are kind of the big ones, leaking faucets. We do hear about garbage disposals a decent amount now too. And like HVAC are kind of the big four, and then like any electrical things for like breaker boxes. So if you go through kind of the big categories and say, how would you troubleshoot this? If you see any gaps like that you want it to ask a little differently, like for example, in Colorado, most of our breaker boxes are inside in the basements, but in California, they don't have basements because of fault lines. Pretty much all the breaker boxes are outside on the side of the house. So our base knowledge may not have that level of context, but you would. So you can say, hey, for all my houses, they're always on the outside of the property. Like just tell the breaker box is there. And so you can customize and train your agent that way to guide your tenant more specifically, instead of it giving a more like general answer based on its broad knowledge base.
Awesome. Sherry wants to know, how do you get to the screen? Is this just the PM Roo screen?
Yeah, it's called chat. So if when I first log in, it's going to take me to like this dashboard. Just so everybody's aware, this dashboard is slowly being deprecated. But you log in and you go to chat. You can interact as a property manager and ask it to like, how would you troubleshoot garbage disposals?
Mm-hmm.
Via the Chrome extension. It's just specifically you can't role play as a resident through the AI chat. So yeah, if you're hanging out one night and you're just like laying in bed and be like, oh, I wonder how my AI employee would troubleshoot a garage door or a garbage disposal, you can just pull it up like through Google Chrome on your phone and type it in, and you should be able to interact with it too.
Got it.
Oh yeah. And so Brian, real quick, Brian said show the presets buttons. Yeah, train Resi Roo. So if you know you specifically want to train it right away, you can just click on train Vendoroo troubleshooting either in the full dashboard chat or on the Chrome extension, and it'll immediately enter I'm in learning mode. But at any point, like if you're getting a summary from a work order, you can say, hey, next time do this. You can always educate it. You don't have to go back out and say, okay, start a new chat, enter Vendoroo, train it. You can do it at any moment wherever you're at in the process.
Got it. And that was actually Dotan the handyman that you were assigning earlier.
Got it. Awesome.
They're asking, can you add rules through the chat? That's this way, right? You say train Vendoroo, and then you can add ways to train it, right? So yes.
Yes.
We have another question. This role play reflects only my account agent, so that how we can test our agents. I'm not really sure what they're asking there.
So the base knowledge is shared across all clients. So like when I was talking like breaker boxes, for example, or like water shutoffs, if it'll say like in general, a water shutoff may be like in a crawl space on the side of the house, in a utility room, etc. Because like across its broad knowledge base, that's where a lot of them might be located because it's operating across the entire United States and Canada as far as homes. But if you went in and said, hey, for my specific homes, like they're 90% of the time they're in the basement, like first have the tenant check in the basement for the water shut off before anything, you can put that in as a custom instruction for it to help guide tenants in the future. So yeah, it still has like the base knowledge is shared across all of our clients, but you're able to level up and also course correct and provide more specific insights on your property portfolio in addition to that. And that's how you do that through here. But yeah, when you first come in and you get onboarded, like you don't have to do anything right here to make it like troubleshoot a garbage disposal. All of the ones I just showed you previously, that's its base knowledge. So there were no custom instructions for garbage disposals there. That's just what it knows off the bat.
Excellent. I think we're gonna, well, Red Address has a question here. Do you have any tenant or vendor feedback ratings on resolution quality?
Yes, so we do collect that. We do take tenant sentiment. That is going to come, we're consolidating that on our side, but you will also start getting it as a part of the weekly insights report that's going to start coming. I still believe it's this Friday. We've had the beta one going out with about 20 clients for the last few weeks. So it is being released. And then we are releasing for our tier 2 clients coming soon. So that's the vendor coordination package, a resident sentiment and like review request as well. So we're trying to help our clients like get more positive reviews to help you grow your business as well. So that's going to be expanded to the tier 2 clients coming soon.
Excellent. Tyler, good job, man. I really want to thank all the folks that showed up. We had over 90 people on this call. Just shows that there's a lot of interest in this idea of yours of having this every 2-week thing to help people understand how to do this is very, very real. So we're going to continue to lean into it. We applaud you for taking an hour of your workday to get more educated on this, whether you're a current user or you're curious about this. In 2 weeks, we're going to dive deep into the receptionist, right? The AI voice line that everybody raves about and you heard on the podcast and whatnot, and how to do it. There's some really cool updates that just happened there. So if you want to get really fluent on AI voice agent, in 2 weeks we'll do that. Again, we will send this out to everybody. And I just want to say great job, Tyler, man. I thought you did really well. Sherry did say, please speak a little bit slower. But apart from that, I give you an A+.
Okay. Thanks. I do get that feedback. So just remind me next time.
I will. Thanks for coming, everybody. If anybody needs anything, do you want to like give out your email or anything like that, Tyler?
Yeah, most of you have it. It's tyler@vendoroo.ai. We will be sending out a short survey after this that'll ask like if you want other topics, how we did. Always want to make this as valuable as possible for all of you, since you are taking time out of your day to join us as well. So, but yeah, it was a pleasure, and looking forward to the next one.
Got it. Tyler@vendoroo.ai. If you need anything, if you want to be my friend, Pablo@vendoroo.ai. Tyler's just much smarter than me, but I'm a good hang. And we hope to see you in a couple of weeks. Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, everyone.